Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Today I'm going to go through a few verses of Surah Al-Shu'ara, the story of Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam's story is mentioned in many places throughout the Quran with a different variety and different wordings and so on. Surah Al-Shu'ara is unique in the sense that it mentions the story of Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam in a different way, that snippets of the life stories are mentioned of many Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, but the majority or the biggest story that is found in that particular surah is the story of Musa alayhi salam, followed by the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, then shorter snippets of the stories of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps on bringing the stories of the Anbiya? Remember that our ummah is the ummah of Dawah. We are supposed to be inviting people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah declares in the Quran Himself, "Kuntum khayra ummah ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah." You are the best of nations. You've been sent for the benefit of mankind. You order people to do good. You forbid them from evil, while you have iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and other verses in the Quran that indicate that this ummah has been sent for da'wah because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was the last prophet. So, what better way to teach us da'wah than to show us how the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam gave da'wah in their time, and also to tell us the challenges that they faced and how they dealt with those challenges. That is why the stories of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam are repeated again and again. So today I'm going to talk about how in Surah Al-Shu'ara Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Musa that he's going to be a prophet and he has to take this responsibility, and how he responds to that responsibility that is given to him and is put on his shoulders, and how when he goes to Fir'aun, what is the response of Fir'aun and how he deals with that also. So inshallah, let's go through the verses bit by bit and I'll explain in brief. وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ أَلَا يَتَّقُونَ. Remember when your Lord, He called Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and told him, go to the people that are doing wrong, meaning go to Fir'aun, give them da'wah, invite them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who are those people? قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ, the people of Fir'aun. أَلَا يَتَّقُونَ, do they not have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So the first instinct that Musa alayhi salam had was to look at his faults and to find his shortcomings, and he felt that there could have been somebody better than him. This is one thing that we should always learn, that when a responsibility is given to us, any kind of responsibility, we should feel, we should think, am I capable of doing this job or not? Am I capable of being a responsible person and fulfilling this responsibility or not? And this is exactly what Musa alayhi salatu wasalam felt. Immediately he looked at his shortcomings and the things that could stand in his way in fulfilling the mission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was giving him. So he said that, قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُكَذِّبُونَ. First of all, I'm afraid that they're going to deny me. Why would they deny him? Because he was from the Israelites. He was from Bani Israel, and they were from the Qibtiyin, the Coptics. They were ruling the country, and the people of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, they were slaves. They had been slaves for the Egyptian kings, the pharaohs, for centuries. And because of that, he felt that how could a slave go in front of the king and tell him to leave his way of life? So he immediately said, they're going to deny me. The second thing, وَيَضِيقُ صَدْرِي وَلَا يَنْتَلِقُ لِسَانِي فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَى هَارُونَ. My heart is tight, meaning I don't feel confident. And my tongue, it stutters. وَلَا يَنْتَلِقُ لِسَانِي. I have a stutter in my tongue. I cannot speak properly. فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَى هَارُونَ. Why don't you send my brother Harun? Why don't you make him a prophet? So there are different verses in the Quran that talk about different things that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam requested Harun to be. In this verse, he's requesting that send Harun instead of me. Make him a prophet, not me. In another verse, he said, make him, in Surah Taha, make him equal to me, make him my partner. And in another verse, make him my support. Make him my support meaning he should support me. So basically, the understanding is from the Mufassirin that initially, like here, Musa alayhi salam requested that he be sent instead of him. Don't make me a prophet, make him a prophet. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rejected that, then he said, okay, make him my partner and make him a support for me, rather than making him a different prophet altogether. So, but here he is saying that instead of me, send Harun. وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَمٌّ فَأَخَافُ أَن يَقْتُلُونَ. And I have committed a sin against them, so I'm afraid that they're going to kill me. So what was the sin? It was a mistake that he made, that two people were arguing, an Israelite and a Qibti were arguing. So he stood up for the Israelite and he hit the Qibti, and without intention he killed him. His intention was just to hit him, but instead of just hitting him, that person fell down dead. So completely by mistake, but because of that he ran away, and he was in exile for 10 years. And now on the way back from that exile, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is getting this responsibility of prophethood. So he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I've committed a sin, and that sin, because of that, I'm afraid that they're going to kill me. قَالَ كَلَّا فَاذْهَبَا بِآيَاتِنَا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ مُسْتَمِعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, certainly not. You have to go, you have to fulfill this responsibility. Both of you go with our signs. We are with you, we are listening carefully, meaning that we're going to be assisting you all the way. فَأْتِيَا فِرْعَوْنَ فَقُولَا إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ أَنْ أَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. Come to Fir'aun, meaning go to Fir'aun, and tell him that we are the prophets of Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of the worlds. And this Lord of the worlds is going to come later on when Fir'aun asks Musa alayhi salam, what is Rabbul Alameen? Who is this Rabbul Alameen that you're referring to? So firstly, tell him that we are the prophets from the Lord of the worlds, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, you have to set the Israelites free from their bondage, from their slavery. So these were two responsibilities that were given to Musa alayhi salam, to give the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to get Fir'aun and his people away from shirk. And secondly, the slavery that the Israelites were in, to take them out of that slavery. This was the second responsibility. So now, the next verse, it says, Fir'aun is talking. So this is one of the beauties of the Quran, which is called ijaz. Ijaz means that the things that are not required, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mention them. So how Musa alayhi salam, he took the responsibility and then he went, and how many days it took to get to Fir'aun, and how he got together with Harun alayhi salam. All of those details are omitted, and the main things are mentioned. This is called ijaz. And there are some times in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions more detail. For example, when Allah is describing Jannah in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, he mentions a lot of detail. Why? Because the person, he is enjoying listening to it. So when that happens and the details are mentioned, that concept is called itnab. Itnab meaning lengthening and more detail. But when the detail is not required, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala skips that detail. That is called ijaz. So the next ayah, it talks about Fir'aun. Musa alayhi salam has gone to Fir'aun, he's given him the message, and now Fir'aun is responding back to Musa alayhi salam. So Fir'aun says, قَالَ أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا وَلَبِثْتَ فِينَا مِنْ عُمُرِكَ سِنِينَ. Did we not raise you amongst us as a boy, and you stayed amongst us from your years, for many years, from your age, from many years? So from the wording, it seems that the Fir'aun that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam grew up with, it was not the same Fir'aun. Because Fir'aun here, he is saying that you were amongst us. Not that I raised you in my palace, but you were amongst us and you were living amongst us. So from this, the scholars say that from the time that Musa alayhi salam got back, it was actually the son of that Fir'aun. It was not the same Fir'aun, it was the son of that Fir'aun, and that particular Fir'aun had passed away, and this was a new Fir'aun. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And you did what you did. first of all, he said that we raised you. And if you remember the whole story, how did Musa alayhi salatu wasalam end up in the palace of Fir'aun? It was because Fir'aun was told by his fortune tellers that there's going to be a person from the Bani Israel. He's going to be born on such and such a time in this year, and he's going to overthrow your kingdom. So to prevent that from happening, Fir'aun had ordered all of the babies that were born at that time to be killed and slaughtered. And the reason that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam ended up in the palace of Fir'aun was that Musa alayhi salam's mother, fearing for his life, put him in a basket, put him in the river Nile, and then he floated all the way to the door of the palace. And the mother or the wife of Fir'aun, Asiya, saw him, fell in love with him, and pleaded with Fir'aun not to kill him. So that's how Musa alayhi salam ended up in the palace. So Fir'aun says that we were the one that raised you. You were raised in our palace. You were raised amongst us. And then وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, and you did the deed that you did, meaning you killed somebody, وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, while you were being ungrateful. So instead of being grateful to the Qibtiyin who raised you, you became ungrateful and you killed one of them and you ran away. قَالَ فَعَلْتُهَا إِذَنْ وَأَنَا مِنَ الضَّالِّينَ. Musa alayhi salam said, yes, I made a mistake, and I was, the word used is ضَالِّينَ here. I was from amongst the misguided. Misguided in the sense that not misguided from the truth, rather misguided in the sense that he was a young man, rebellious, and maybe a little bit hot-headed. So he said that at that time I was young and I was misguided from that perspective. I did what I did. Yes, it was a mistake on my part. فَفَرَرْتُ مِنْكُمْ لَمَّا خِفْتُكُمْ فَوَهَبَ لِي رَبِّي حُكْمًا وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. I ran away from you when I was afraid of you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me hukm, meaning an order. He gave me a judgment. وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and He made me from the messengers, from the prophets. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ أَنَا عَبَّدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And you are shouting your favors to me. You are telling me your favors. You're counting your favors to me. And on top of that, you've made all of Bani Israel slaves, and just the one person that you raised in a palace, you're making a big deal out of it. And then on top of that, the reason that I ended up in your palace was because of you, or because of Fir'aun, your father, killing all of those babies. That's the reason I ended up in the palace anyway. It wasn't because of any deed on your part that you brought me forcefully into the palace. The reason that I got to the palace was because of the fact that you were killing all of those babies. So the fact that وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا, you're counting your favors, and on top of that, عَبَّدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل, you've made all of the Israelites, the Bani Israel, into your slaves. قَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ وَمَا رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Now here Fir'aun says, okay, what do you have to say? Who is this Rabbul Alameen that you are mentioning? You are bringing an order to me to set the slaves free. Who is this order from? Who is this Lord of the worlds that is going against us and wants us to set the Israelites free? So the discussion that takes place is very powerful, because it's one ayah, Musa alayhi salam, and then the next ayah, Fir'aun. The next ayah, Musa alayhi salam, the next ayah, Fir'aun. As if there is an argument taking place, a debate taking place. And one is trying to drive his point across, and the other is trying to compete with that point and trying to ridicule that point and put it down. And this really, for a person who is giving dawah and for us living in a non-Muslim environment, it really shows us that we need to be persistent. There will always be voices shouting against us and against Islam, and basically rejecting the message that Islam brings, and that will be continuous. But you don't just give up at the first instance of this kind of dissent against you. You have to be persistent, you have to be steadfast, and you have to continue. And in other verses in the Quran, you will find that the dialogue, the rhetoric that is used by the people against Islam today is exactly the same rhetoric that was used by Fir'aun and his people to scare the people against Musa alayhi salam. For example, in Surah Dawah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the saying of Fir'aun and his people, قالوا إن هذان لساحران يريدان أن يخرجاكم من أرضكم بسحرهما ويذهبا بطريقتكم المثلى. They said, meaning the people of Fir'aun said, these two are magicians. They are magicians. Yuridani, what do they want? They want to take you out of their lands, of your lands. They want you to go out of your lands, meaning they want to take over this country. وَيَذْهَبَا بِطَرِيقَتِكُمُ الْمُثْلَى, and they want to get rid of your exemplary lifestyle. How many times have you heard this before? The Muslims, they don't love freedom. They want to take away our freedom. They want to change our way of life. That's exactly what Fir'aun said about Musa alayhi salam. Exactly. And there are so many other verses that we can, compare with the politics of today, the politics of fear, fear-mongering, scaring people against Islam and Muslims. This is exactly what Fir'aun did many, many years ago. So what was the dialogue that took place between Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun? So first of all, he said, وَمَا رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, who is this Lord that you're referring to? قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِن كُنتُم مُوقِنِينَ. He is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and whatever is in between them. So nothing is remaining. He is in charge of everything. He's in charge of you, He's in charge of me, He's in charge of your palaces, He's in charge of your kingdom. That is Rabbul Alameen. If only you had yaqeen, in kuntum muqinin, if you had conviction about this, He is Rabbul Alameen. So Fir'aun says, قَالَ لِمَنْ حَوْلَهُ أَلَا تَسْتَمِعُونَ. Fir'aun says to the people around him, are you listening carefully? Meaning trying to ridicule Musa alayhi salam's claim. Why? Because Fir'aun, he said, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I am your Lord. And here he's claiming that somebody else is the Lord. So he says to the people, are you listening? Are you listening to this claim that this person is making? Musa alayhi salam persists. And so he doesn't give up. قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَرَبُّ آبَائِكُمُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Musa says, your Lord and the Lord of your previous forefathers. And this statement is very powerful. Why? Because the people used to worship the kings that came before them. So this statement basically says, Allah is your Lord, you are here today, you will not be here tomorrow. You're going to leave this world tomorrow. And your forefathers, they were here yesterday and they are not here today. So the Lord remained, you and I, we will leave this world. Our forefathers left this world. The forefathers that you worship, they are gone. But the Lord, He remained. So, Rabbukum, your Lord, wa Rabbu Abaikum al-Awwaleen, and the Lord of your forefathers. This Lord is everlasting. We and our forefathers and the forefathers that you worship, they have gone and we will continue to live. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is everlasting. So, the response from Fir'aun is, again, one ayah, Musa alayhi salam. The next ayah, Fir'aun. He says, Inna rasulakum alladhi ursila ilaykum lamajnoon. Fir'aun says, this prophet that is sent to you, he is indeed a madman. Musa alayhi salam doesn't give up. He continues, قَالَ رَبُّ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. The Lord of the East and the West, and whatever is in between them. If only you had understanding. In kuntum ta'qilun. If only you could understand. Again, Lord of the East and West. Why? Because Fir'aun, he claims to be the king, but he is the king of a very limited country. He is the king of the only surrounding area of Egypt, whereas he goes to the next country, there's another king, and he goes to another, on the other side of the border, another king. Musa alayhi salam says, Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghrib. This Lord that I'm talking about, He is not just limited by these boundaries, by these barriers. He is the Lord of everything. Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghribi wa ma baynahuma. Between the East and the West, and in between them, Allah is in charge of everything, if only you had understanding. So Fir'aun again responds, قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين. Fir'aun says, if you take anybody other than me as a god, then I'm going to make you into a prisoner and you're going to rot in prison. So this is a threat from Fir'aun now. So the dialogue is taking place, rhetoric from both sides. And ultimately, Fir'aun is giving a threat to Musa alayhi salam, but Musa persists and continues with his dawah. So he says, قَالَ أَوَلَوْ جِئْتُكَ بِشَيْءٍ مُبِينٍ. How about if I bring you something very clear? What if I show you a miracle? And Musa alayhi salam was given 2 miracles which he showed. قَالَ فَأْتِ بِهِ إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Fir'aun said, okay, bring them if you're truthful. And obviously he thought that Musa alayhi salam has nothing in comparison to what I have. So he's up for the challenge. He says, bring me whatever you have. Bring it on. فَأَلْقَى عَصَاهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ. Musa alayhi salam, he threw down his staff, his stick, and it became a huge serpent. There are different words used for the serpent, sometimes small, sometimes big. The wording is used. And the scholars say that it started off maybe as a small snake and it grew into a big snake, and other different interpretations given by various scholars, but other words are used for the serpent or the snake that came. وَنَزَعَ يَدَهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. And he took out his hand and it was shiny for the people around him. So this was the second miracle that was given to Musa alayhi salam. And now at this point, Fir'aun becomes scared. He was very argumentative. He was very resistant to the da'wah of Musa alayhi salam. Now he sees these miracles and he knows that this is something out of the ordinary. Now he starts scaring the people around him and telling them that this person, he's a threat to you, he's a threat to your kingdom, and we need to do something about it. And what happened after that was all of the magicians were gathered on a particular day, and then there was a challenge that took place, a duel that took place between them. Musa alayhi salam defeated them, and the magicians also became Muslim, which made Fir'aun even more mad. But the point is, in this short span of verses, we find many lessons that a person who wants to give da'wah, he needs to learn from. Persistence, remaining adamant and steadfast, recognizing one's own shortcomings, how to deal with resistance by becoming more and more steadfast and not giving up. All of these lessons we learn from these particular set of verses. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.